Welcome back to the main stage and the Motorfest Walk of Fame. It's the place to be if you really want to become a Motorfest legend. Each month is a chance for your name to be marked onto the stars. Here's the Motorfest legend of last month. This month, a new legend rises to the challenge.
Here it is, Motorfest's most splendid surprise to date. Since they couldn't possibly take you to Ferrari's supercar exhibition, they brought the exhibition to you. But we're not stopping there. We are going to ride those magnificent creatures. As Motorfest's archivist, it is my great privilege to accompany you on what promises to be a memorable experience. You will not only be driving Ferrari's greatest cars, you will also be reliving the joy, excitement, and unique thrill that their best drivers feel on the track every single day. And you also get to marvel at their latest creation. In any case, this is a special occasion, a true celebration of Ferrari.
Red Letter Day. You're signing up for one of our most exclusive experiences to date. A partnership with the quintessential sports car manufacturer, Ferrari, the prancing horse. An alliance that will for sure go down in Motorfest history. To be your guide on this pilgrimage through excellence, we've invited our resident scholar and authority on luxury cars, the Motorfest Archivist. Sir, you're up.
Thank you, dear. Hello, driver. Pleased to meet you. As your lovely onboard assistance device just mentioned, I'll be your chaperone for this playlist. Although chaperone perhaps isn't the right word. More like a host, I believe. Well, this is not my usual job, but it is Ferrari we're talking about, so, well, how could I refuse?
All right, friends, welcome to this very special edition of Ask the Captain. We put out a video a few days ago about Midnight Hammer, and we've gotten quite a response to that video. Many of your questions we're going to attempt to answer in this special episode. I want to say something first, though, up front. Here at the Captain Steve channel, we do not get political. We do that on purpose, and I don't want to put anybody off one way or another. Our talking about this mission was from the aviation side and the airplane-related things that went with it. That's for another part of the internet to discuss, the politics of it, and we don't want to get wrapped up in that. So I want you to understand, even though I am an American and I flew for our military, I want to try to be as kind of Switzerland on this whole thing as possible going forward. But your questions on this were absolutely excellent, and they deserve answers. So let's jump into the first question. Brooks Beller 2052 asks this question. Weird question, he says, but in those stealth bombers, I can't imagine there's a lot of room, if any, to move about the cabin. So how do the pilots relieve themselves during a 30-hour round trip? I imagine peeing in a bottle isn't too crazy, but what about the other business? Okay, that's true. Do they use a bucket, diapers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Well, the answer to this is there are actually some living accommodations on a B-2. There is actually a toilet that gets used. It's a chemical toilet, but there's also a microwave. I think there's like a toaster oven on as well, and there are some sleeping facilities. Now, they're pretty rudimentary. On my airplane that I flew in the Navy, there was a rack in the back, and it was kind of like you would think of as a cot. It wasn't the most comfortable thing, but you could lay down, get horizontal, and go to sleep. And actually, I trained myself over those years to get some sleep on those things. I could kind of close my eyes and go to sleep, wake up 45 minutes or an hour later when my shift started. It's very important to have those rest facilities. They have those on a B-2. Excellent question. Next is Aviation Lover 1998. Hi. I'm from the UK. It was a very interesting mission, and I can't believe they managed to do it without it being leaked. How did the planes not show up on radar, and can they fly silently? So they're called stealth bombers for a reason. The technology on the outside of the airplane is designed to not reflect radar signals in a way that a traditional aluminum or airplane would reflect a radar signal. It kind of confuses it. There's lots out there on the internet about how stealth technology works. I don't have a degree in it, and I'm not going to try to get into it. It's just stealth, and it works. Now, can you see a B-2, and can you hear a B-2? Yes, you can. So are they completely stealth? No. Anything you can see and hear, you can identify. Now, they came in the middle of the night. The pilot said it was one of the darkest nights they've ever seen. And in fact, when they dropped the bombs, they said they lit up the sky so effectively that it was like the brightness of day. So they'll always run their mission. They'll always drop their bombs in the middle of the night. That helps with the stealth package of a B-2, but that's a great question. Next is, let me see, Ushan Oabi, 6142. Thanks so much for this breakdown. One thing that has puzzled me is how they managed to get some sleep when that much airtime is involved. Could you explain how it works? Well, there was racks in the back of the airplane. I can't imagine going over anybody got much sleep. I'd imagine that the adrenaline was pumping. These pilots are about to go on one of the most dangerous missions they've ever participated in. They had fighter cover as they were going closer to the target. But once they got close enough to the target, those fighters had to peel off because they can be seen on radar. They went and did their separate mission of getting rid of the surface-to-air missile sites, and those B-2 bombers were left vulnerable. They can't defend themselves. They're just bombers. They open up the bomb bay and out the bombs come. So that's very dangerous, very brave men and women on those airplanes. And again, I imagine the adrenaline was pumping. Most of the sleeping probably got done on the way back. I can imagine you're pretty exhausted. You have that adrenaline let down. And I'm sure whoever shift it was, once they got into their bed, they were probably out just like that. But again, this sort of missions are for young pilots, not old guys like me. And you recover pretty quickly from a couple of all-nighters in a row when you're young. Great question. All right, we've got Lynn Margastros. What happens to the plane when it drops those 2 bunker buster bombs? That is a lot of weight to lose at once. The pilot must have a steady hand to counter the significant weight shift. That's an excellent question because they were 30,000 pounds each. Each one of those B-2 bombers carried 2. That's 60,000 pounds. That's the equivalent of about 20 VW Beetles all at once. Open up, drop, out they go. They were most likely on autopilot when they dropped those bombs. They're probably not hand flying the airplane, although there would be a pitching moment in the airplane when something large would come out of it. In my airplane in the military, we had bomb bay doors. When we would drop something large and heavy, you'd get a pitching moment, but the autopilot usually steadies it out and takes care of it. They would want to get to a precise point that the GPS and the internal nav was taking them for the launching of those bombs. So the autopilot would get them there. Then they're going to turn around. Most of the flight is going to be done on autopilot because if the pilots had to hand fly all,
What's up, Meta Nerds? This complete breakdown of the TIE Avenger will pull from every source available, so we can completely understand this cutting-edge Imperial space superiority fighter that represents a shift from the Empire's mass production philosophy toward a high-performance design. So let's jump right into its stats, and then we'll move into a comparison with other ships of its era, before finishing off with its history. It is larger than most TIEs, with a length of 13.41 meters, or about 44 feet, a width of 7.49 meters, or about 25 feet, and its height was 5.13 meters or 17 feet. The Avenger's cockpit was the familiar ball-shaped pod of the TIE series, flanked by bent-wing solar arrays similar to those of the TIE Interceptor. This gave it a sleek profile while providing ample surface for solar energy collection, though it should be stressed that that's an auxiliary source of power. Like most ships, it is still running off Debana gas. The twin ion engines at the rear is what give the entire TIE series its name, and these are powered by advanced SFS IS-3A solar ionization reactors. These are high-output ion thrusters that propelled it faster than any previous TIE model, and its acceleration at space is rated at 133 megalight, meaning it could outrun standard TIE fighters and even keep pace with Rebel interceptors, but faster than most other ships of this era, including the X-Wing. And with this speed, it also has excellent maneuverability, with a 104 DPF rating, which even exceeds the agility of the TIE Interceptor and Rebel A-Wing. And as we'll see, this performance made it extremely nimble in dogfights. It was equipped with a Class II hyperdrive system, a major innovation for a TIE series craft, and this internal hyperdrive gave the Avenger independent deep space range, unlike the standard TIE, and it has a navigation computer with a limited jump memory installed to enable standalone hyperspace navigation, being able to plot routes with a maximum of 10 jumps. The incorporation of a hyperdrive into such a smaller fighter was made possible by miniaturized motivator technology, a breakthrough that is not seen in earlier TIE prototypes. It also comes with deflector shields, another feature absent on the mass-produced TIEs. The shield generator obviously gave the Avenger greatly improved survivability. At full power, its shields could absorb impacts that would destroy most ships, while its physical armor plating was only about as sturdy as the TIE Interceptors, so relatively light. The combination of shields and high speed made it exceptionally difficult to target and destroy in combat. Standard Imperial hull materials, like quadanium steel and titanium alloys, were used throughout the Avenger's frame, keeping it lightweight but inherently relying on shields for protection. And what might be the most interesting to you is that it's heavily armed for its size. The baseline Avenger carried 4 SFS LS 9.3 laser cannons mounted on the wingtips, and while the name is the same type as what we find on the TIE Interceptor, they have been tweaked to be more powerful, described specifically as being stronger and able to blast an asteroid apart in a single volley. These lasers could be fire-linked in various modes, firing each of those 4 lasers independently, or in dual fire or just quad mode where they all fire at once. This allowed it to adapt firepower as needed, and so the pilot wouldn't have to waste any energy. But it also featured a pair of MG2 general-purpose warhead launchers, which are built directly into the hull. Each launcher had a magazine for 4 concussion missiles, so 8 total, and it could be loaded with alternative ordnance. We've seen up to 3 proton torpedoes per launcher, or even heavier rockets and bombs in smaller numbers. This gave the Avenger a striking capability against larger targets, while still having most of its parts assembled in a standard TIE factory. And at least this prototype that we see in the new cannon has even more firepower, with additional laser batteries along the wing for a total of 10 laser cannons, and a retractable heavy laser cannon under the cockpit.
Is the beam weapon completed?
Yes, Admiral Zarn. We are ready to deploy the weapon.
Excellent. Begin arming my fighter squadrons at once.
This heavy cannon required a charge-up but could punch through blast doors in one shot, and the same prototype also mounted twin rotary blaster cannons for anti-personnel strafing fire, a capability Cassian Andor exploited against stormtroopers on the ground. These supplemental weapons may have been experimental additions and were not standard on the known production model Avengers that we'll see coming out in the later years, which primarily stuck to the 4 lasers and warhead launchers. As for avionics and sensors, it's outfitted with advanced targeting computers and a sensor suite, the Avengers computer featuring a holographic or heads-up display in the cockpit, assisting the pilot by tracking enemy starships and even detecting life signs. This system could auto-calibrate missile targeting, allowing guided missiles to home in with minimal pilot input. Such sophisticated avionics made the Avenger deadly accurate, helping the pilot not be overwhelmed in complex engagements. Standard sensors were comparable to other TIEs, like long-range threat detection, Imperial IFF systems, but where it counts, it's enhanced by the new targeting algorithms. Its crew is just the one pilot, who's in a pressurized cockpit, and unlike the more Spartan TIE LN fighter, the Avenger included full life support systems, meaning the pilot did not require a fully sealed suit to survive in space combat. This both improved pilot comfort and was a nod to preserving elite pilots' lives. TIE pilots knew that their lives did not have any intrinsic value to the Empire, but if they worked their way up through the ranks, their superiors might bestow them with a ship that actually had life support. And so the TIE Avenger was a compact yet extremely advanced starfighter, integrating speed, agility, shields, heavy armament, and a hyperdrive all into one package, while still simplifying production by sharing a lot of the design features with the standard TIE. These features made it far more versatile and survivable than ordinary TIEs, essentially combining the best traits of Imperial and Rebel fighters into one platform. And I do think we should compare it to some of the other more specialized TIEs, starting with the TIE Interceptor. This was the Empire's next-generation superiority fighter introduced later in the Galactic Civil War, and it shares some lineage with the Avenger. In fact, both the Interceptor and Avenger drew wing design inspiration from the TIE Advanced X1, featuring the distinct bent wing solar panels. And the Interceptor is famed for its speed and firepower, having those 4 laser cannons, and its highest top speed of 1,250 km per hour, which beats almost everyone else. But to achieve this, it sacrifices shields and has no hyperdrive. All of its power is being channeled into the engines and its guns. And so the Avenger adds missiles, shields, and a hyperdrive, and thanks to its superior engines, the Avenger's acceleration and agility were reported to match or even outmatch the Interceptors on some occasions. This is likely due to being ace pilots though, as the official stats have it moving 50 km per hour slower, but in the insanely competitive atmosphere of TIE pilots who are always trying for personal fame and bragging rights, it's no surprise that some Avenger pilots were able to push it past the manufacturer's stats. But of course, the Avenger was never meant to be the mainline fighter. It wasn't supposed to replace the TIE LN. And notably, later in the Galactic Civil War, some elite Interceptor units did get upgrades like shields and better weaponry, which would narrow this gap. And so it really is just quantity versus
up the way. I'm going way down low. Oh my love, I'll pray with every breath, don't let it fade. The shadows deep, I'll find a way. I'm going way down low. If it kills me, let it be for love. Let it be for love. Let it be for Once upon a time we had it all. Silver in the clouds, the sand was gold. Once upon a time, oh, I was free, living in a world of fantasy. On the horizon I can see someone calling out for me. Into the storm I see the darkness down.
Let's drive to the main building. I believe the director of the Ferrari Museums has a few words to say.
My name is Michele Pignatti Morano. I am the director of the Ferrari Museums. Here we are where there is the birthhouse of Enzo Ferrari. Each Ferrari is different. Each Ferrari was the best in the world in design, performance, technology, putting all the best in one single car. Is a legend, is just exceptionally full of excellence.
This is Ferrari Supercars, a partnership with the Enzo Ferrari Museum of Modena. To the next objective.
There's a particular kind of Ferrari we're going to speak a lot about today. The Ferrari Supercars. The car you're about to drive in this opening event is none other than the first Ferrari in the supercar bloodline, the Ferrari GTO.
The first supercars that we can define is the GTO. GTO was very simple. If we just start from the name, it was Gran Turismo Omologato. The definition of supercars is very simple. It's the top expression of that period in design, performance, technology, putting all the best in one single car of that period. People call it the 288 GTO, but that is not the correct definition. The definition for that car is the GTO. Punto.
To Ferrari, supercar is a term that refers to milestones in motoring history. All supercars are limited series and the product of Enzo Ferrari's philosophy, aiming to make every new model the best car of its time. That means that every new addition to the lineage is the embodiment of leading-edge research that sets the standard for cars worldwide. You'll drive all the Ferrari supercars on this adventure, but for now, just enjoy the collector's piece that is the Gran Turismo Omologato, or like Mr. Pignati Morano said, simply GTO. This car is, in essence, a special version of another iconic Ferrari, the 308 GTS. And, as intended, it is one of the fastest street-legal production cars of its time. Interesting fact from my archives. Three-time racing world champion Niki Lauda owned one of the few GTOs produced. A gift from Enzo Ferrari himself. Beautiful sight. Takes me back to the Legacy Tour Ferrari organized back in 2024. A GTO tribute tour set in the stunning surroundings of the Italian Dolomites. Organized exactly 40 years after Ferrari introduced the supercar at the 1984 Geneva Motor Show. But enough from me. Just listen to the car you're driving. She'll tell you her story herself. Welcome to the world of Ferrari, my young friend. A world where legends live among us to tell their stories loud and clear. I was delighted with that introduction. You may now head towards the northern part of the bay to make the acquaintance of the next two supercars in our Ferrari lineup. You heard me right. The next event will feature not one, but two cars for you to drive. On one hand, the inspired and inspiring Ferrari F40. And on the other hand, nothing less than a road-legal Formula One, the Ferrari F50. Mr. Pignati Morano will start with a few words, then I'll take over.
The Ferrari F40. Enzo Ferrari's ultimate vision.
Everybody recognizes the F40. It sparks a memory. It has some magic. I see it in the museum. When people walk into our museum and see an F40, you really see the emotion in the eyes. The F40 stands out immediately. The F40 is such a beautiful masterpiece, and we still had Enzo Ferrari giving his input on that car. And I think that is extremely important. That makes this car even more precious. It was a relationship between the driver and the car, and that made it unique.
Ferrari F40, second vehicle of the manufacturer to earn the prestigious supercar status, and a car that has shaken the motorsports industry to its core. Time to celebrate Ferrari's 40th anniversary. This Ferrari, bearing the apropos designation F40, was the last Ferrari automobile personally approved by Enzo Ferrari and made under the supervision of the Commendatore himself. The result is an aggressive car with animalistic behavior and a stripped-down interior befitting its obvious racing heritage. Brutal and uncompromising. A car that has since become the epitome of Ferrari's brand identity. A car that still is in the heart of many, the greatest sports car ever made. Ferrari F40, second vehicle of the manufacturer to earn the prestigious supercar status, and a car that has shaken the motorsports industry to its core. Time to celebrate Ferrari's 40th anniversary. This Ferrari, bearing the apropos designation F40, was the last Ferrari automobile personally approved by Enzo Ferrari and made under the supervision of the Commendatore himself. The result is an aggressive car with animalistic behavior and a stripped-down interior befitting its obvious racing heritage. Brutal and uncompromising. car that has since become the epitome of Ferrari's brand identity. A car that still is in the heart of many, the greatest sports car ever made. And again, at the time, the fastest Ferrari ever created. This is a machine that has a mind of her own. Talk to her, listen to her, find your common ground. You'll get one of the best driving experiences of your life. This is a machine that has a mind of her own. Talk to her, listen to her, find your common ground. You'll get one of the best driving experiences of your life.
the Ferrari F40. Enzo Ferrari's ultimate vision.
Everybody recognizes the F40. It sparks a memory. It has some magic. I see it in the museum. When people walk into a museum and see an F40, you really see the emotion in the eyes. The F40 stands out immediately. The F40 is such a beautiful masterpiece, and we still had Enzo Ferrari giving his input on that car. And I think that is extremely important. That makes this car even more precious. It was a relationship between the driver and the car, and that made it unique.
Ferrari F40, second vehicle of the manufacturer to earn the prestigious supercar status, and a car that has shaken the motorsports industry to its core. Timed to celebrate Ferrari's 40th anniversary, this Ferrari, bearing the apropos designation F40, was the last Ferrari automobile personally approved by Enzo Ferrari and made under the supervision of the Commendatore himself. The result is an aggressive car with animalistic behavior, a stripped-down interior befitting its obvious racing heritage. Brutal and uncompromising. A car that has since become the epitome of Ferrari's brand identity. A car that still is in the heart of many. The greatest sports car ever made. And again, at the time, the fastest Ferrari ever created. This is a machine that has a mind of her own. Talk to her, listen to her, find your common ground, and you'll get one of the best driving experiences of your life. Like you two had a deep conversation out there. Very well. This is how you make history. believe that you're now expected at the Hanalma racetrack. But first, let's get there with panache. Another special car is waiting for you. Tried two of the 20th century's most popular Ferraris. But when it comes to beloved machines from the 80s and 90s, there's another red horse that undoubtedly comes to mind. The unmistakable pop culture icon, the Ferrari Testarossa.
When you ask people which is one of the most iconic cars that people remember, I think the Testarossa is definitely among these cars here. The technology that is inside, easily distinguishable from the side which has the fins. It is one of those cars that everybody remembers. Testarossa is very simple. Translated from Italian is testa, head, rossa, red, so the red head. The Ferrari Testarossa was quite the celebrity in her time. Movies, TV shows, magazines, and even video games, the Testarossa was everywhere, appealing to kids and adults alike. With its angular design, minimalistic lines, and signature side air intakes, this car was a poster child for aerodynamics. To be precise, the exact model Motorfest has put in your hands is the 1991 re-engineered version of the Testarossa, introduced as the 512 TR, featuring a redesigned interior and a refined exterior to improve its already spectacular lines. It looks like you're getting the perfect stretches of road between Maui and Oahu to take the whole measure of it.
This was quite a breath of fresh air and nostalgia.
Scuderia Ferrari in our history is extremely important. Scuderia Ferrari was created in 1929, not far away from here. Enzo Ferrari himself was a driver. He started as a driver. So he created, and to stimulate the drivers, he was giving them and putting them in the best condition with the best car possible. Scuderia Ferrari was so successful. Enzo Ferrari has conquered the world from Maranello. This is an achievement which is unique and really makes the brand unique.
Scuderia is what started it all. To understand what fuels the creation of every Ferrari ever made, especially the supercars, the racetrack is an indispensable stop. Racing cars were Enzo Ferrari's passion and obsession. This is what led him to found the Scuderia in 1929, which has played a major role in racing history. And born from this racing division, Ferrari as a brand and factory of excellence was created a few years later. Racing is what led Ferrari to create cars, and eventually supercars. Without his racing spirit and passion, there would be no Ferraris as we know them. Ferrari 365 GTB4 is the perfect vehicle for you to experience Ferrari racing as it felt back in the 70s, before switching for a car about 45 years its junior. For this second lap, you'll be driving the FXXK. This car is quite peculiar. Essentially a laboratory-enhanced version of LaFerrari, a supercar you'll get to meet later on. It didn't compete, per se, but this insanely powerful car was used for years as an R&D test car, allowing Ferrari to collect precious data to ultimately improve their next official racing cars, as well as the supercars. A Ferrari so extreme that it can never be driven on the road, nor qualify for any kind of official competition, but it's still a racing machine through and through. More than a car, the FXXK is an experiment for its makers and an experience for its drivers. Is what started it all. To understand what fuels the creation of every Ferrari ever made, especially the supercars, the racetrack is an indispensable stop. Racing cars were Enzo Ferrari's passion and obsession. This is what led him to found the Scuderia in 1929, which has played a major role in racing history. And born from this racing division, Ferrari as a brand and factory of excellence was created a few years later. Racing is what led Ferrari to create cars, and eventually supercars. Without his racing spirit and passion, there would be no Ferraris as we know them. The The Ferrari 365 GTB4 is the perfect vehicle for you to experience Ferrari racing as it felt back in the 70s. Before switching for a car about 45 years its junior. For this second lap, you'll be driving the FXXK. This car is quite peculiar. Essentially a laboratory-enhanced version of LaFerrari, a supercar you'll get to meet later on. It didn't compete, per se, but this insanely powerful car was used for years as an R&D test car, allowing Ferrari to collect precious data to ultimately improve their next official racing cars, as well as the supercars. A Ferrari so extreme that it can never be driven on the road, nor qualify for any kind of official competition, but it's still a racing machine through and through. More than a car, the FXXK is an experiment for its makers and an experience for its drivers. This was a peek at Ferrari's glorious racetrack heritage, a heritage in which supercars are inextricably tied up. Race driver, a moment I'll be thrilled to relate and store in my archives. Let's get our focus back to our supercar lineup. With the GTO, the F40, and the F50, we've covered all the Ferrari supercars born in the 20th century. We'll now get to talk about and drive the more recent 21st century supercars. Well, I'll talk, you'll drive. Let's get back to Maui. entry in our lineup and first supercar of the 2000s is a direct tribute to the Commendatore Enzo Ferrari. You guessed it. We're letting you get your hands on the 2002 Ferrari Enzo. Again, starting with a few words from our guest, Michele Pignati Marano.
What was the next name? The name was Enzo. Enzo Ferrari, I mean, it's the top of the names. You couldn't do anything better than that. If we look at it today, and you think it was presented in 2002, it is still a car which is modern, and it has more than 20 years, but it's still unique. It's still, everybody wants this car. There is no main evolution. It is all evolution. It's technological, it's design, it's the horsepowers we put in, everything, and that's what makes Edge Ferrari super.
Fourth in the supercar bloodline, was just like her sisters before her, born from a strong desire to push supercars even further. As the first Ferrari of the century, and with a Scuderia on top of the racing world, the Enzo was meant to strike hard and set new standards for Ferrari cars. Or, rather, for the whole sports car industry. With the will to design, once more, nothing less than a road-legal Formula One. Faster on the track, but more civilized on the road. Ferrari went all out. And my word, did they deliver. Design by Pininfarina, featuring noticeable air intakes and an F1-inspired nose, gives this car her aggressive, decisive, and impressive looks, while the engine is nothing short of engineering mastery, as you'd expect. to that better handling, better carbon brakes, and electronics that make the car as reliable on an everyday drive as it is savage on the racetrack. The latest 21st century tech alongside the legendary Ferrari Fury. Nothing short of a new performance benchmark. Her name alone shows how confident Ferrari was about this car. Owning one of the 399 plus one Ferrari Enzos in existence is like owning a piece of car history. Or, dare I say, like owning a piece of art. Heritage, luxury, and exclusivity. This is Enzo Ferrari's legacy. After the beautiful tribute that was the Ferrari Enzo, the world had to wait more than 10 years to encounter a new Ferrari supercar. But eventually, the next generation arrived, and once again, caught everybody off guard. I'm talking about a car named La Ferrari, the Ferrari in English, which is currently waiting for you north of Maui. I'll let you drive there. Then we'll talk some more.
LaFerrari is the first Ferrari we have with an hybrid engine. If you come to our museum and you have the possibility of comparing and seeing the LaFerrari engine next to LaFerrari car, you won't believe that that engine is in that car. In that period, we were taking a lot of technology also from Formula One. And that's what the Ferrari is. LaFerrari is the first car, the first hybrid car, because we were taking the Formula One experience and transforming it and taking it to the road.
It's 2013, and a new supercar emerges from the Maranello factory. In an era of astonishingly intense competition, Ferrari still treated their rivals to a true tour de force, a car that reshuffled the cards yet again. Strongest naturally aspirated Ferrari V12 to date, marking Ferrari's first steps into hybrid technology. For the first time in the company's history, petrol and electric working together full-time to deliver unprecedented levels of performance. And on top of all that, LaFerrari sports an F1 kinetic energy recovery system that constantly recaptures waste energy, stores it, and converts it into bursts of power when needed. Ferrari, some lucky people got to witness technology peak improvements at both ends of the spectrum. Higher performance, lower consumption. Glorious achievement. Most civilized, but also the fastest and most exhilarating road car ever made by the prancing horse, LaFerrari. This was LaFerrari, the fifth and ultimate Ferrari supercar. Or is she? See, not so long ago, we would have called it a day on this playlist, right about here. After all, LaFerrari was the last supercar ever made, the final word in Ferrari supercars. But that's not true anymore. In 2024, Ferrari shook the automotive world once again by revealing the sixth supercar to bear the prancing horse. The news of Ferrari unveiling a new supercar was already more than enough to get any car enthusiast in the world on their feet. But the reveal of her name is what made everyone lose their mind. The Ferrari F80. An exciting time to be alive, isn't it? You should head back to the Ferrari Museum. Believe me when I tell you that something brilliant is about to be set in motion.
One more time.
what makes Ferrari so unique? It is mainly the people. The people make the difference. And as Enzo Ferrari used to say, factories are made of wall, machinery, and people. Ferrari is made of people mainly. The people and the sense of belonging to Ferrari is something I think that is difficult to find in other companies, in other places. Our brand is the only brand that has such a strong passion. Thanks to the passion that is in the brand, the technology, the effort that the people put behind this brand and behind building a new car, the next one is the best.
Is a legendary sports car brand, born from the passion of a man. A passion for driving and racing. A passion for speed and competition. With the will to build cars, each one better than the last. Throughout the decades, this racing DNA never faded away. It informs every single decision made by the prancing horse. It fuels the relentless drive to explore car technology, to push it beyond and make it evolve, to design the most incredible cars in the world. Jewels of the road, champions of the racetrack. Ferrari. It is cars that have become pop culture icons. Cars that share a special bond with millions of people. Whether you own a Ferrari or not, the name Ferrari rings like no other. It impacts and fascinates children and grown-ups alike. It is part of a collective consciousness. Ferrari cars are a vector for dreams. They're modern legends, both real and mythical in a way. They're an idea of what a sports car is, in both fiction and reality. Is, and this is putting it mildly, the epitome of luxury cars. With design that combines rage and glamour, each Ferrari is a piece of art. And from the higher end of the splendor spectrum, each drive is a statement. voice of the racing spirit, pop culture phenomenal, state-of-the-art ambassador. The combination of all these attributes made Ferrari a car brand that reached millions of people and brought them together. People that have, over the decades, formed a community like no other. Devout, passionate, dedicated. Because once again, no need to own a Ferrari to be part of the Ferrari world. Through almost 80 years, Ferrari has shaped car history. And as I speak, it is shaping its future. A new chapter of the Ferrari supercars story is being written. Its title, F80.
It's a challenge to keep the legacy of the Ferrari brand alive. Thanks to the passion that is in the brand, the technology, the effort that the people put behind this brand and behind building a new car, the next one is the best. I hope you enjoyed driving our cars. They are unique, but why not come to our museum and see the real thing? Come and live the dream and come to the Ferrari museums. Arrivederci.
This was our exclusive Ferrari experience. Now, time to get your reward. New challenges unlocked.
Tell the tale of America.
Let's complete this playlist.